Welcome to the agenda after a devastating loss against the Bombers on Saturday at the MCG, leaving us with a 5-10 win-loss record. With me is Jay Clark from the Herald Sun. Jay, where do we go from here?
No one at Collingwood is feeling particularly good about themselves, and he's got to lift them, right? So finals are out of the question, clearly, and he's got to find some spark and some excitement.
So what does he do differently? What can he do?
Well, the first point I think is youth, clearly. So we haven't seen a whole lot of young guys come up, and Nathan Buckley said they might give some young guys, a chance ahead of their time. So that's Rupert Wills this week, I think, 33 disposals. Callum Brown, Josh Dacos, we've seen of. Cale Kirby is the wild card.
Now you've been talking about Cale for a few weeks now.
So he's an exciting forward, mid-size, leading the VFL goal kicking with 27 goals. Kicks another 4 majors at the weekend. He's a special talent, and this is the kind of guy who can generate some excitement, clearly. James Aish is the other one. So went back to the VFL, played as an inside mid, which is reprogramming a little bit, and was very good. Also, there are just general changes with the training program and just the week-to-week monotony. But they can't go into a self-preservation mode, Chris.
No,
They've got to be more selfless. And that's hard when your careers are on the line. Now, you had a good look at the midfield setup, because for the 4th week in a row, I reckon that was a big issue.
Yeah, it was. And one of the things you're talking about is intent. And there's no question tackling was an issue again on Saturday. Tackling, 51 tackles for the entire team, 11 tackles for 11 players laid 8 tackles. So half the team between them laid 8 tackles. Now that is a mindset, that is an intent. Essendon had 438 disposals and 51 tackles, and half the team laying just 8 tackles is just not good enough.
Yeah, my beef with the midfield setup at the moment is Jordan De Goey, and I don't mean to lampoon a young bloke here, but last week he was excellent, right? Nearly best on ground. We saw his high ceiling, and this week he comes out and has 14 possessions and 0 tackles, which goes exactly to the point you're saying, in exactly the same midfield role. Now, he's a talented young guy, but we want to see more consistency on that front. So what is the coaching group now? Do they drop him for that really subpar performance, or do they back him in? I mean, Bucks has shown so much faith in the playing group, but that is really disappointing because, again, for the 2nd week in a row, they really hurt out of the midfield.
He certainly was quiet after his great week, and turnovers was another issue. 5 first quarter goals by the Bombers, 4 came from defensive 50 kicking errors. So I know you want to talk about that now, because the skills generally is a real problem.
Collingwood fans would have want to throw their remotes at the TV if they weren't at the ground. I know there were a couple early. Braden Maynard, 3 in particular. It's either defensive half, and it wasn't just the turnovers, the mistakes, because they'll always happen in a game of footy. But Essendon was clinical. They made them count on the scoreboard.
Absolutely.
They absolutely punished these turnovers on the scoreboard. There was a couple of other Will Hoskin-Elliott handballs, which bubbled around his target. Scharenberg kicked out in the full. Chalor had a dirty day off the foot. Taylor Adams' disposal's been a month. Now, he'll die for you on the battlefield, Taylor Adams. Got absolutely no doubt about that. You want him right next to you on the battlefield, but, the disposal is an issue. And then it comes down to Collingwood's whole recruiting philosophy. That's drafting and that's trading. So a lot of similar players will try for you. So hard. I mean, I don't think work rate or work ethic has been an issue. Really, a lot of the time it's been polish and execution. So when Collingwood is looking at designing its recruiting philosophy or reassessing that you're looking at bringing in players, Chriso, with dead set A-grade skills. Now that just has to be the absolute minimum standard. Blokes who can kick the footy, Chriso.
It's really important.
Because they've got a lot of workhorses, a lot of foot soldiers already. They need the cream on the cake.
Now, I want to talk about the forward line, because I've been calling for Ben Reid to play forward. I have been asking.
So you would have been happy when he started there.
Jay, I was very, very happy about Ben Reid playing forward on the weekend. And he looked dangerous. He kicked one. He could have kicked 3 or 4.
Had a good opponent in Hurley.
He did have a very good opponent in Hurley. But I want the extra piece to the puzzle now. Now, Darcy Moore said to us on Saturday that he's okay to go. So I want Moore and Reid in the same forward line.
So Moore comes in for Cox,
combined with Fasolo and Elliott, there your 4 key forwards, and then you've got the midfielders rotating through the forward line as well. But if you've got Moore and Reid down there, one of them hopefully, obviously gets the 2nd best defender, but then can have a real impact on the game. And Ben Reid did enough for me. He would look dangerous. He took some really good grabs. His kicking for goal, okay, that needs to be improved, but he could have kicked 3 or 4. But in combination with Darcy Moore and your man, perhaps, Cale Kirby, then maybe there's a 4 line that can kick a winning score, and that's what is really exciting.
Last point. have we had a game where we've had Moore and Reid and Fasolo and Elliott all playing the same forward line together? We haven't had that yet.
No, maybe for half of a quarter, but not from the get-go, and that's what we've got to see. Now, let's get on to our Monday moments.
My moment. Now, this involves you, Chris, so you're going to be looking at this issue very closely as part of your excellent work on the match review panel. Levi Greenwood got caught up in a bit of a tangle, it's fair to say, with Essendon's Zach Marrett. There was an early tag here, which I like that. That's the incident right there. Merritt coming off. He cops a high elbow. Now watch this in slow motion. So Greenwood hits the shoulder first, Chriso, and then up to the chin. Now you must assess that and see whether that was actually incidental contact in the end, because he slips up off his shoulder. And you'll have a look at the medical report as well and see how much Zach Merritt was actually hurt.
I mean, with these things, if you elect a bump and bump in the head with force, then you're in trouble. I'm not talking about the Greenwood one because I need to consult my colleagues, but that's the general application of the rule. If you elect a bump and you have significant force to the head, well, then you're in trouble. So that will be interesting. Now,
I'm interested in the word significant. You said that will.
Well, it needs to get to the low bar, low force. But I've got a very, very special Monday moment. Well, one of the great men. I happened to be at the game on Saturday. John Cena, a 15-time world wrestling champion. Now you can see.
He's a big boy.
Now see the seat next to John. That's where I ended up. He called me over to explain that here he is in action. Now he's just smashed the rock there. He is an absolute, and the size, mate. Now, that actually doesn't really reflect how wide he is across the shoulders. He is about 6 foot across the shoulders. His arms are bigger than two of my legs. An absolute legend. That had to be a Monday moment. The big Johnny Cena, mate.
I can imagine how much he would tower over me. He would cast a huge shadow and sounded like a humble guy, a really good fella.
Terrific bloke. No, really terrific. So great to catch up with the great man, Johnny Cena.
Gold Coast, on the road. Maybe a bit of together time for the boys.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
You know, a bit of kumbaya, hold hands.
Yeah, maybe Friday night, just have a bit of bonding. I think a bit of bonding. We won't go into that. A little bit of bonding. It's a big game. Jay, that's all we've got time for this week on the agenda, but we'll do it all again next week, hopefully after a big win against the Coasters.